Now we're going to be able to show clients pretty quickly, okay, your top line data from phase one just came out. If you were to take this and model it out to, you know, 3,000 patients in Ecuador, here's where it could be effective, and here's where it might be able to be utilized. I think that's going to have an effect to allow, especially in this environment, companies to find a more valuable proposition to move their program to the next milestone, whether it's we need to raise another round of money, or whether we need to look at trying to buy somebody, acquire or partner with us so that we can take this to the next step. There's access to that we can provide to clients a lot sooner than we ever have been able to. We're just still figuring out how to leverage it and explain it to people. As I'm talking to you now, I'm still figuring out, okay, this is what this means for us, because it's new, but eventually it won't be new, and it's going to be something that I think a lot of clients can leverage and access. Um, I'd say along with that, we've gotten really good at automating, or I should say, making a system around checking people's references. The tough part about my work is that so many people have done so many amazing things, but not every one of those people are as good as they could be for certain clients, or have done it in the way that a client needs to. And there's no way for me to know that unless I, go through the process of checking on who they work with, or talking to individuals that, we know that might know them. But it's difficult to do that for 500 plus working consultants every single time they go to a new client. And so we have a system now that's doing references almost in a automated way, because it's sending out a reference check to the person or people that they give us as options, um, electronically. But it's getting responses, and it gives an actual like tactical score to the person's skill set along with that discussion, and so what or with that outreach or reference check. And so what happens is that there's two things: we're getting much more specific information on what this person has done and how well they can do it. Also, we're getting a lot more responses because clients aren't having to pick up the phone, which I'm not against picking up the phone. I never will be. For anybody that might be watching this, that you know this cold calling is dead. It's not. You have to make the cold calls. It's not always the most fun thing, but you have to do it. But at the same time, not everybody can and wants to do that. And so if it's a reference check that a person can pick up their phone and just go, yep, they did great here, they did great here. Yeah, you guys can call me at some point if I need it. And they put their phone down. That's created a much more robust system that I can then represent individuals with, that provides tactical, topical, and effective trust with the client to say, I've checked this person's background, I've checked their references, they've been done, and here's a report on what it looks like. Here you go. And that's a system called Ref Assured that we've recently rolled out, and I had no idea how it would be, how it might affect our business. And now I'm seeing brand new people that are in the industry that have all this talent that I've never known about, who we've verified, at the best level we can, that they can do what they're doing. And so that's, I think, putting us in a position where we have um, much more, again, to go back to that point earlier about being intentional with our work, slowing down and making sure we're bringing value, not just speed. That's where we've been able to be a little more valuable with clients. We're representing our people the right way, and also a little faster because we're getting this information faster.
It's, it's so important to be able to have qualified, resources that you can offer. I completely understand that. I'm going to go back to your first example though, just for a second. So,
Yeah,
my engagements that have led me to discussions with potential VCs, or even talking to any other type of investor that's currently in the market, leads you back frequently to some broad level of a conversation as well. And it sounds to me like your ability to look at the clinical trials and offer solutions in terms of, look, this is what the scope and might bring you, that might bring you to the finish line faster, is such an important one. I feel like in this current funding market that most companies are in, because they're fighting for dollars, day in and day out, and having a
absolutely.
way to have a conversation with somebody that provides back data on, okay, so here's how we might approach this to either get to an answer faster or do it more economically. I feel like is something that investors definitely want to know. And I think I'm kind of laughing a little bit at this, because it's a very early stage company that I was working with. I mean, essentially, they were looking for seed funding, and they wanted to know
Hmm.
about full reimbursement rates for the product that was being developed at seed
Yeah.
funding stage. I mean, we're not even literally in the lab, and they're talking about like, what is your reimbursement going to be like? And I'm like, okay, so we need the full marketing plan then, to be able to answer these questions, because without this and
Yeah.
looking at what current reimbursement rates, we won't be able to answer the question. So again, I think that point that you're making with regards to clinical trials is an important one. So yeah.
I appreciate that, Don. And it's funny because I think that's your point is well taken because it's still a question that's new to our clients to even be asked. And so part of what I think we're trying to, it's always annoying when a new product comes out or a new option comes out for a client. And you're like, here you go, and they're not like, ooh, yes, immediately, let's do that. Like you're like, but because in your mind, it's is what you're seeing. It's so new and and it makes sense, and yet it's not even a question that people have begun asking themselves. So for them to then have to become, to your point earlier about being problem unaware, it's still a problem that they're unaware of. But it's a question that's going to be asked more and more and more and more. And because of that, you know, it's going to become something that people have to think about, even when they're not necessarily being asked a question. Um, but it's still new, so it's rolled out, and we're still trying to get it, get our arms around how to help people understand it. But we had a meeting on this last week, and that was the first time I really was like, wait a minute, okay, kind of an aha moment to realize this is what this question answers. It's just not being asked enough by clients yet, but it's starting to become part of the regular discussions within companies. How do we show this to have value? Because we have to raise money, but here's the information we need to show. It's not just here's some data. It's okay, well, what does this data mean? And that next step question is becoming much more common in boardrooms.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And I also think, I mean, it this stands true for my own organization as well. The days of providing a siloed tactical resource are, I believe, over. Somebody came to me recently and they said, look, I feel like all of my work anymore is gig work, and I said that's funny, because if you're that transactional with all of your work, and you don't sort of think about the legacy that you're creating and the legacy that you're going to leave behind, it's going to be a very tough environment for people that are extremely transactional, I feel like. However, if you take a holistic approach and you say, hey, look, here's who the client is, and here's what it is that they're
Right.
asking me to do, maybe there are some areas where you're having to step outside of the bounds of whatever it is that your current contract says. But at the end of the day, if it supports the client and it leaves the legacy that the client would go, hey, look, I absolutely want this resource again, because they're gonna do absolutely everything possible to drag whatever it is over the finish line. Normally
Right.
that's what clients want. And I sort of say this on the digital marketing side. Look, it's a very easy equation for us. What clients want at the end of the day is they want to be seen, and they want clear leads, right? And so if we're
Yeah.
doing things that at the end of the day are providing opportunities for those, we're doing our job. If we're not, and let's just take again LinkedIn as an example. Some people
Right.
count the number of connections that they have. Who cares about the number of connections you have? How many relationships out of those connections do you have? That's what I want to know.
Right. It's like people that have Facebook friends saying, "Oh, I have 3,000 friends." I'm like, well,
Yeah,
not really.
yeah,
They're one of my friends said yesterday. They're friends with a Z on it, not like friends with an S. It's a difference, a little bit.
yeah. I mean, I don't know. I get connection requests every week. I forget what it is. It's like 10. I get 10 new followers every single day. And
Right.
I don't remember how
Right.
many connections I get every single day, but it's a lot. And yesterday I happened to pull up something that said I had over 21,000 connections. And I'm like, I don't have 21,000 relationships. I know I don't. I mean, I
Right.
fully
Right.
admit that.
Right.
I'm trying my best to make them in conversations like this, so that way I can at least count a portion of them and say, yes, I absolutely know Paul. I know Paul, and here's some of the things that I know about him and what he does at BioBridges. So